I said it on Friday and I'll say it again. It's wonderful to see so many people here on an Easter Vigil. 2 years. 2 years. It's just wonderful. Next year, hopefully, we'll pack it. But this looks packed, if you know what I mean. This looks packed. This is very, it's wonderful. These last 2 years have been dominated by all things COVID. And added to this here at Corpus Christi, all things school, parish center, and daycare. This was dominated this local community. In one case, we had no choice but to go through it, and that is COVID. Just happened to us. Forget all the reasons, it just was here. We had to deal with it, and we had to navigate through it. In the other case, I'm saying to myself, I had something of a choice. I say something of a choice because Archbishop Miller had required the buildings to be seismically upgraded, and I forgot to shake my head when somebody asked me if, we would be kind of the flagship. I should have done this rather than this. But I forgot to do this, and I did this like a dodo. The choice was, I keep telling myself to go the full route after a lot of work. And God, I truly believe, blessed this decision to allow us to build this beautiful structure that will educate generations of children and help us to unpack and live out in all its fullness our 10-year vision for Corpus Christi Parish. Phase 1, hope you heard that. Phase 1 is almost 100% completed. And then, as we all know and don't really want to know, we have this debt that will come at us. But we'll take care of that. We'll do it together as a parish family. Aside from the Archbishop's requirement, why did we go through all of these things building-wise? And why, I ask myself, if God allows me, would I put myself through seismically upgrading the church building and office area? Why? Loss of sleep overrides any aggrandizement, if you know what I mean. A lot of stress doing this kind of thing. Why would I do this? The answer really is twofold. The prime answer is that so we can encounter the living one. The scripture, this particular translation says, why do you look for the living among the dead? But the actual Greek conveys the reality. The angel says to them, why do you look for the living one among the dead? It's a question of, to help us understand what the angel is conveying, it's almost like I don't understand why you're looking for the living one among the dead. And the second reason is for you. That's why I would do it. All you and your children. Jesus, who is God, came into this world for you and for me, not for buildings. He didn't come into the world for buildings. He came into the world for his children, for souls. When I say souls, I mean for his children, for human persons, for you and for me. The buildings are places where we gather and worship and hear the story over and over and over again, as we all need to. Every year when I listen to these readings so beautifully read, these readings tonight, let alone throughout the entire year, something always hits me anew, because the scriptures are like an unfathomable, they're like a bottomless ocean. And even if you get one thing from all 4 readings of the Old Testament, it's like this burst of sunlight. Because God is reminding us why we're in the predicament we're in, but he's never forgotten us. We walk away from him. He can't walk away from us. We feel he's distant from us. He's never distant from us. We need to hear the story over and over and over again so that we don't allow the Prince of Lies to work his filthy, rotten lying again. Like he lied to our first parents and tricked them. They had to they were responsible for what happened, but still the deceit of the enemy was the reason why they ultimately succumbed to this. They were lied to and they bought into the lie. You and I can buy into the lie if we don't hear the story over and over again, the true story. The buildings are here, are where we gather to be with each other, to hear about what we mean to God and how the Lord calls us to live. The buildings are places where newborn children are baptized, as tonight this will happen with 4 children. And you as adults who have accepted the gift of Jesus to be baptized as adults. It's like, it may be something of a pedestrian metaphor, but the slate is wiped clean. I mean, so powerful is baptism that everything is wiped clean. Now, just to kind of highlight, but I hope this doesn't happen to anybody, you're baptized as an adult, and you could have lived such a horrible life. And if you're sincerely repentant and you go to baptism, I mean, it is like you were a newborn baby. And you walked out, and let's say you were hit by a car, which I don't want to happen. But I got to highlight the reality by something so tragic. You would actually go right to heaven. It's so powerful. Live a week, don't know. Because, all the old habits set in. So that's why we need 7 sacraments and not 1. We need baptism, we need Eucharist, we need penance. Oh, we need penance. But penance is to help us, receive the Eucharist at a deeper, more profound level. And all the other sacraments of confirmation and marriage and so on. Christ gave us 7, not 1, not 2, but 7, because he knew all the things we needed in life. It's a complete life package, right from the mouth of God. This is the primary place where we come to know and encounter the living one. The Greek word is 2-word, ton zonta. So it's not just the living among the dead. I'm not sure why. I'm not in the business of translating. I know nothing about Greek. But this is what the Greek says, ton zonta. In other words, the living one. It's the uppercase O, the living one. It's not just as Jesus is alive, but that alive is constituent with his person. He is the one characterized by life. He is life itself. To the angel, as I mentioned, the fact that people, humans, are seeking the living one among the dead. To the angels, the ways of unbelieving humans seeking the living one doesn't make any sense. Because when the angels hear God speaking, there's never a doubt. It's done. It's believed. It's accepted, undiluted. You and I, we waver. We're dull of heart. We're cloudy of mind. How many times, and it's not to trash the apostles, but Jesus had to, don't you remember? Don't you remember? Don't you remember? Well, they didn't remember. Because the passions get in the way. Even then, without newspapers and the internet and iPhones, they were so distracted. They were thinking about themselves and their plans of glory. They didn't want to hear about the cross. They didn't want to hear about it. So they didn't, even though the words got in there, but they didn't register. Not so with the angels. That's why we need to be more attentive to our guardian angel, this angelic being who is given to each and every person conceived in this world. Doesn't matter if they're Catholic or atheist or agnostic or Buddhist or whatever. We need our angel to guide us so that we listen to what God is saying to us and we don't dither. We actually pay attention. The one who wasn't there on Holy Saturday at the tomb was the mother, because the mother listened to her son. The mother actually paid attention to what he was saying. And she, even though her heart was breaking on Good Friday, was breaking more than we can comprehend, because she was uniting herself to his suffering. She knew he would come back. So Mary didn't go to the tomb. Not because she was so depressed and so discouraged. She was a woman of so much faith. It would not even she would even supersede the angels. And tradition is always held that it's, again, not recorded that Mary was not at the tomb. We know that by the absence of her person. But that the first person Jesus appeared to was not the Magdalene, but his mother. That makes perfect sense. But it's not recorded. It's been passed down through oral tradition. Sometimes we can act the opposite of what we are supposed to be about. We all know this. It's an open secret. We can live and sometimes even worship like Jesus is dead. We say he's alive, but we don't actually act like that. Even St. Paul VI, back in the 60s, said this is one of the reasons that this breathes oxygen into atheism. It actually sort of feeds an atheistic mentality, whether it's a theoretical or a practical atheism. If we Christians, Catholics, are not living seriously that Jesus is alive, why would they believe? Why would they believe if the believers are not acting the way they should behave? That was Paul VI back in the 60s. We go through the motions at times. God prevent us, we should say to ourselves, from doing this, and never let Jesus really be in the driver's seat of our life. Or perhaps he gets in and then we say, out. I want a little pleasure. I want a little vacation. I don't mean a good one. With our new faith in Jesus Christ and his Catholic Church, with your new faith in Jesus Christ and his Catholic Church, it is my fervent prayer that each of you new candidates and confirmand will always desire to seek the living one and worship with his people and receive him, really present, Jesus Christ. We're so blessed as Catholics to have him present, body, blood, soul, and divinity, like he's really, truly, and substantially here. These are all words which just mean that he's really here. It's not a figment of our imagination. It's not just a spiritual presence. It's not a symbol. He's really here. That's why I tell the children, I never open the fridge and genuflect to a loaf of bread. Right? The kids get it. Why can't the adult? We do get it, actually. We just forget. We forget. And so we need to remind ourselves that he's really here. There was actually an older priest. Some of you know Father Soria. He's such a saintly man. He said to me once when I passed said to me up in Powell River once years ago, and I've never forgotten this. He said, because I was making a genuflection, but I did it on an angle like I was in a hurry, He said, BJ, stop. Center, greet the Lord, only takes a second or two, and then go on your way. Small things, I love you. Small thing, isn't it? I've never forgotten this. That's why I hammer away at genuflections. Because a very wise saintly priest said this to me, but it reinforces that we're actually talking to a person. We're not talking to an object. We're talking to an I, the letter, not an it. These little things help us to realize how blessed we are. That we come into church and we have someone actually waiting for us. We are all called to seek the living one in our own personal lives, when we are alone and when we are here in church. May God continue to bless your faith. May you seek the living one every day of your life, starting from the time you get out of bed, and thank him that you actually are alive, which is a miracle. I still wonder, going to sleep and then getting up, it's something of a mystery to me. If you think about it, we should never take it for granted that we actually wake up. And the body operates the way it does. So to seek the living one in every part of our life, starting from the time you get out of bed and thanking him that you actually are alive and able to get out of bed, and make that morning offering to greet God. As you go through the day, as you suffer or under stress, is all part of our lives. And may all of us live our lives in accord with the truth that Jesus Christ is truly alive. He really is alive, not like Lazarus. He brought Lazarus back to death. Lazarus was going to go back and die. They're actually going to try and kill him because Lazarus was a bad message. Kill the messenger. He's not alive like Lazarus. He is life itself. And Jesus is the living one. So, blessed be God. Blessed be his holy name.